Alright, this time I'm trying something a little bit different. Sunless Sea is a game I've been playing for a little while now here, trying to do this legitimately, because I find the writing really fun and interesting, but the game is hard. It's sort of like a roguelike in that you lose everything when you die, except dying has some carryover stuff, and for the most part it's just really frustrating because the deaths can be completely arbitrary and unplanned. It's really hard to get things back up where you're proceeding smoothly, so for this run through I'm going to start out playing the game as it's meant to be played for a hot second, and then I'm going to cheat the hell out of it. First game I've resorted to cheating to, but I want to tell a story on the Unterzee without having to put up with all of the bullshit of the game. So if you don't want the fun parts of this game spoiled and want to engage in the actual gameplay, go out and buy this game right now. It's interesting, and it's got some of the best writing I've ever seen in the game, and some of the coolest world building. With that, we engage. I'm gonna be reading pretty much everything that pops up in this game, because that's the fun part that I'm here for. I've decided to retire my old cheating captain, and preserving as a legacy one of my officers who's able to get me the most fuel efficient engine in the game. And also I happen to get the Boga Sharps, which gives me a little bit of a boost. Captain's Making. 3 decades ago, in the reign of Victoria, London was stolen by bats. Now it lies a mile below the surface. It was dreadfully inconvenient for everyone, but it opened a vast black ocean to you. Welcome to the Unterzee. Choose a past. Decide who you were and what you want to be. Now you're a captain. Now you belong to the Unterzee. But who were you before? Plenty of options here. I am going to go with a bonus to mirrors. A natural philosopher. Your peculiar theories on time, blood, and starlight brought you down to the Neath, the cavern where London lies. And now they take you out to Z. This will give you a bonus to mirrors, the skill of detection and perception. Your acquaintance, the plausible surgeon, will serve as a ship's doctor until you find someone better. Talk to him to find out why he went to Z. For this I've gained 25 mirrors. I have the plausible surgeon. He probably won't saw the wrong limb off. Gained 20 echo. I was born a natural philosopher. My stranger quality is now gone. For this, I've decided to write a masterpiece. As we're going to see, I'm going to be playing as a very privileged Z captain who gets to just explore every nook and cranny of the Unterzee. Gather 100 tales, learn all you can of the Z. Write a masterpiece. Retire. Whenever you return to Fallen London, you have the option of retiring, but you'll need to write your masterwork first. My objective ambition quality is now become London's most venerated explorer. I shall go by my lord. Perhaps you really do come from a noble family. Who's to know? It's a pleasure to welcome you on board, my lord. Be a regal old chap, with a snifter of brandy at hand. And a shout out to my other favorite Lovecraftian story source these days. I'll be Cecil. Or Cecil. All in London, deep, dark, and marvelous, all voyage start here, and this is where successful voyages end. Advice for captains. The much lamented M. de Meaux found a watery grave long, long ago. Probably your end will be no better, but if you read this book of invaluable advice, your chances will improve. On endings and beginnings. Captains often die. This is not the end. When you die, you'll learn lessons which will help you survive next time. Beware, the layout of the Unterzee changes with each new captain, but home waters are stable, and islands will only move so far. Legacies. Future captains can inherit some skills, officers, equipment, and money. Over time, you'll find extra items and advantages that allow you to preserve a greater inheritance. On exploration. Exploration is the heart of the game. Risk brings reward. Staying close to London is safe, but eventually you'll run out of fuel and supplies. Exploring and playing port stories will allow you to find secrets and echoes. Echoes is the currency of this game. Spending secrets and echoes. Speak to your officers to spend secrets on improving your abilities. Spend echoes on equipment in ports. You can often find officers in London. A lot of these are not so useful to me. On machines. Your prow lamp dispels darkness, reduces terror increase, and allows you to find Z marks. Your engines, of course, drive the ship forward into the night. On finding places to explore, use your Z-Bat Scout. Technically, it's a chiropteroscope, but we're among friends here. On fighting. When your enemy is in the arc of your guns, you'll see the firing solution, the glow around the fire buttons, increase. When it's complete, let them have it. You can fire earlier if you like, but may miss. Larger ships may have access to different gun slots. On stories. When you put into port, you can generally explore and exhaust the story options until your next visit. Something awaits you. If you have the something awaits you quality, which will show up here, when at Z, you know that more story is waiting for you when you make port. It'll crop up whenever you're sailing around. If you see a flavor message like distant bells, that means you have something awaits. On terror, and this is the most obviously Lovecraftian mechanic, sort of like insight in Bloodborne. Terror increases gradually over time when you're out at sea, away from land. Watch the skull. When you see orange or red pips, over here, terror will bump up if you spend much longer in the frightening place. Many events will increase it too. How do I reduce it? Use shore leave in London or in other ports, but London is most cost effective. To reduce it, lots and lots of other stories increase or reduce terror. On news stories, and now that we've read this book, sell this book. You're a veteran captain and require no more advice? Very well then. Gained 50 echo. The Labyrinth of Tigers is open under the patronage of the London Zoological Society to cautious visitors for educational purposes. Here you may see the devil apes of Far Mandalay, the thing in the mirror, the Cantigaster's children, the gargantuan cave snake, the inhibitor of wolves, the hybrid fiend NB. The management recommends that you arrange your exit well before closing time. My options are to provide a rare creature to the labyrinth, or purchase a live specimen from the labyrinth, but can't do either of those things right now. Thanks to my inheritance, my lodgings are a bit more decadent than most. I even have a few heirlooms, and I'm residing in a Z-side mansion. Here you may catch up with your correspondence, rest, or retire altogether from Z-faring life. The better your lodgings, the better the quality of your retirement, naturally. Today I'm going to read the morning papers. The Unexpurgated Gazette, the magazine formerly known as the London Magazine, and the Spiteful Trumpeter News. News from abroad. The Khanate is threatening war. They always are. London's colonies on the Carnelian coast want independence. They always do. The Unterzee, the papers report, has undergone another alteration. Not yet it hasn't, you'd know. Oh, promotional coupon from Mrs. Plenty's Provisioners for a half cask of salt herring. You could use that. I've gained supplies, and recent news. Outlying colonies are often eager for this, but you can't connect more than one at a time. And I have to take a quick break to switch out my headphones. Back again already. Don't need to rest because I don't have any terror, and I'm not going to sell off any heirlooms yet because I'm going to start like you would normally start this game. I'm going to go back to the rest of the city. Or you could click on the London card on the right. London. She's the greatest city on the Unterzee, and don't you forget it. Visit the Admiralty's survey office. They'll pay for information from Z captains. Find out what and how. It's unlocked with Admiralty's favor no more than 2. The Admiralty's picket fleets and intelligence networks are long gone. The survey office pays Z captains a small sum for recent information. Visit and investigate ports to gain port reports and trade them in here. The first time you trade in a port report, you'll gain Admiralty's favor. Start out by asking if there's anything in particular they need. Well, if we can be assured of your discretion. This port. Speak to our agent there and return. We'll see that you're rewarded. Receive strategic information from Gator's Morn in the Corsair's forest somewhere not far from home waters. The Admiralty has a task for you. Visit the named port to retrieve strategic intelligence and return it to the Admiralty. I could ask to speak to a higher authority, but I'm going to leave the Admiralty. Don't have anything else for us? Done. Out into the foggy street. Turn your collar up. My other options are pretty limited right now, but what everyone should start their game doing, offering passage to a tomb colonist. An emigrant will pay to be taken north, to Venderbite. It's oddly difficult to die in fallen London, but when a Londoner is too tatty and wretched to live, or ratchet, they wrap themselves in bandages and take ships for the tomb colonies. Your crew carts these ones on board in padded coffins. They'll sleep there until the journey is done. The tomb colonist is in your hold. Take them north to the colony of Venderbite and sell them there. I now have times tomb colonist. And with that, I've seen what London has to offer me. 10 fuel, 6 supplies, a crew of 8, and some officers. Speak to a mascot first. The comatose ferret. Mostly it's immobile. Occasionally it's feral. Your comatose ferret. It lies across your desk like a lumpy scarf. Play with your ferret. Attract its attention. A weary roll of the eye. Play, the eye roll says. Play. I played once. The happy warrens of London, before you installed me in this floating coffin and made me eat dried food. Damn your play. It is an eloquent eye roll. Next, the plausible surgeon. Oops. My bad. Hello, my dear, my dear. Sit down carefully. Just let me tidy away these implements. We don't want any carelessness, do we? Ask after his desires and ambitions. He's traveled much, seen all manner of wound and malady. But is there anything left for him to discover? Any place he wishes to go? The Chelenate. You know it. They collect corpses. He shifts in his seat. Vast, noble, complicated corpses. What I could learn. What I could see. My dearest Captain, if we ever find ourselves in the Chelenate, I do hope you might see fit to release me from our arrangement. The Chelenate can be found somewhere in the far east of the Unterzee. Finally, I'll speak to the tireless mechanic. Hello, busy now, but always got time for you. I'm going to invite him to dine with me. His tastes are Spartan. He eats little, drinks only water, barely sleeps at all. So you need only lay a simple table. Appeal. Thanks for the meal, and the company. No wine, it makes me sleepy. Oh yes, I can sleep. Too easily, that's the problem. He hesitates. There's a draught I take nightly to substitute for sleep. It works well enough, and it keeps me sane and upright. But I wish I could enjoy just one night's sleep. If you could help me... We need a clayman from Polythyrene. We'll need a mirror catch box, and we'll need to go to Hunter's Keep. I'll explain when we get there. No, I'm serious. I would owe you a great deal. Mirror catch boxes are rarely sold in London, but can be found in the Khanate and occasionally elsewhere. I've lost one-time supplies. And I should be able to survive. My cargo hold, as we start out, is only 40 spaces, and that includes spaces taken up by fuel and supplies, which are necessary to travel. So, it's a little slim, but what you always want to do to make a little bit of money, most of the money making in this game when you're not cheating, is done by establishing trade routes. Just taking things that you buy for a certain price in your cargo, and selling them at a place where they'll fetch a higher price. That's what we're doing. We set sail from fallen London, chugging our way along the starting materials, but at least we do have a chief engineer who increases our fuel efficiency, thanks to a legacy, a shipmate. I'm traveling with the lights off to conserve my fuel a little bit. It's smart generally, but it does keep you from discovering things quite as quickly as you would otherwise. You have the light on, you can find things like Hunter's Keep here. Close to home, always a friendly sight to see. Hunter's Keep. Quiet Isle. Grand old house. A hump of dark rock, swathed in mist, like 100 other Unterzee islands. But here's a grand house, windows aglow, lawns impossibly green and lush in the false starlight, raked gravel paths. You stand on the dock as the sea nudges the ship's sides. An unexpectedly warm breeze carries the faintest trace of lavender. First thing to do is to reconnoiter the island. Plunging cliffs, soft green lawns, a well tucked away in the folds of the grounds. Anything else? Reconnoiter the island. The sea's silence. Ships rarely come here. Nothing changes, even the weather. The house is the heart of the isle. The house and the sisters. But the Admiralty may be happy to know that nothing's changed, at least. You now have one of this, a port report Hunter's Keep. Spy on the house. This place may not be as simple as it seems. Fortunately, with my veils, I have a 98% chance of success. Piano music drifts across the terrace. Peer through a half-open French window into a grand parlor, grand in size, if a little reduced in style by dust and neglect. A dark-haired, pale-skinned young woman bends earnestly over a piano keyboard. Another, fair-haired but unmistakably her sister, sprawls on the sofa with a book. A third sits by the fireplace, staring sorrowfully into the embers. "Soon," she says, and the piano music falters and stops. "Go hungry, and then the end will come. For me, but not for you." The pianist raises her eyes from the keyboard. "Hush! If we don't speak of it..." She frowns. Has she seen you at the window? You withdraw. You've gained 40 fragments. You know something of Hunter's Keep. Succeeded in a Veils challenge. Now present yourself at the house. They will have heard your ship come in. Why hide? Knock and enter. A maid with smoldering topaz eyes shows you into the parlor where 3 young women wait. "A visitor!" the youngest cries. The next youngest chuckles. The eldest sighs. "Do excuse the indecorum," she says. "Visitors are rare. You are very welcome. I am Cynthia. The noisy one is Phoebe. The cheerful one is Lucy. We're in good time for lunch. Will you join us?" Blue lightnings crawl leisurely up the funnel. "St. Erasmus dancing," a cry goes up. You are acquainted with the Sisters of Hunter's Keep. That quality gives me a, you'll find a story when you next appear. Luncheon with the sisters. I think Cynthia is my favorite. Cynthia is the eldest, melancholy, pensive, occasionally dramatic. Cynthia grasps your arm and whispers to you. Her eyes are wide and blue. Her hair is wild and tangled. Bats might nest in it. It seems to you that you are sitting on a hillside above a wide blue lake, listening to a story of murder. An axe. Net. Blood on scented water. "Another chop?" Cynthia asks. "You've barely touched your food. Here, I'll have the maid wrap something up for you. Can't be hungry. It's not safe to be hungry." Lost 20 hunger, which is this quality. You are acquainted with the Sisters of Hunter's Keep. Occurrence. Your the gods of the Zeas salt's attention quality is now... Iron remains unchanged. You now have one-time tale of terror. Recall it, then light a candle. Light another. You now have one wary terror. My terror increased to 1. I gained 1 supply, and that's all for now. I could bring them news, but I don't feel up for that yet. I need a few things to proceed with the Tireless Mechanic story, including a clayman marked for London, memory of a distant shore, a Z story, and an empty mirror catch box. Back out to Z. This chart is what gets filled in as we go along. And my main goal, this run through, is to fill out my map and see all the stories that can be seen. And maybe, just maybe, write a great Unterzeenian novel. Shit. Pirate. Fortunately not a very smart pirate. Loot and scuttle her. She's a vile old vessel and these seas aren't safe. Take what you can and move on. There's lean pickings. These pinnaces don't sail far from their hidden harbors, but there's something at the back of the hold. A stout crate. Crates! The source of sustenance, the fundamental element of cargo. A crate of fuel. Coke. Like coal, but more so as the Department of Infernal Rarefactions would have it. I've gained 2 times fuel. You'll notice, since I'm far out at sea, that my terror is increasing rapidly. Not a smart move. There's land ho. I've discovered Carissa's Point and Venderbite, and Horniman Stag. And maybe Tanachuk. Nothing important. Trouble with tomb colonists. Brought this decaying emigrant north. Now what? An absent friend. It is everything I imagined, he tells you breathlessly. But there's someone missing. Please, bring her to me. A vague commission. She went off to the Mangrove College. She needed to get out of London. But Vanderbite is just as safe now as the college. I'll wager she's bored of mud by now. Look for this shady sort in the Mangrove College somewhere in the south of the Unterzee. We've lost one time's tomb colonist. Now have a new objective. The tomb colony of Vanderbite. Tomb colonies. Few die in London. They come here instead. On deck you can hear the sound of 1,000 bandaged dead make as they shuffle and cough. It's something like the world's most restless concert audience or the world's most plague-ridden cathedral. First task is to gather gossip. Who's plotting what out in the tomb colonies? Along the coast of the Unterzee it's remarkably hard to die. The decrepit and nearly dead who leave London become tomb colonists and settle here in bandaged peace. But they don't give up their ties to home or their politics. You gather a haul of complex clues, enough to keep your contacts in London interested. You now have a port report for Vanderbite. Visit the first curator. Captains, the first curator gives audience. The first curator is responsible for the preservation of the tomb colonies. It has been here much longer than London, like all the oldest tomb colonists. But even tomb colonists dissolve in the end. Its time is close. First curator's manse. No more light, the obsequious steward cautions you. The curator is terribly afraid of moths. He opens the door and you step into near darkness. A pair of luminous lamplighter bees buzz in a latticed ivory tube. There is no other source of light. A bandaged shape no larger than a child lies crumpled on a couch. It lifts its head with obvious effort. It takes several seconds for you to distinguish its voice from the soft buzz of the bees. Listen to a whispered requests. "See, Captain. Silkskin. Not much left to me. I will go into the Grand Sanatorium. Bring me colors. 7 colors. Pay well." 7 colors? Cosmogone. Irigo. Pelican. Steward has list. Find them here and there across the wide Black Sea. Ask about the Grand Sanatorium. One hears the name whispered here and there in the arcades of Vanderbite. A long, low chuckling. "Oh, Silkskin, you don't want to know." The chuckling becomes a cough. "We don't die here below. Not unless we go to sea. So we needed something else. Somewhere to end." Accept the commission. "Thank you. This poor flesh thirsts for colors." No more words. It collapses, rustling, back onto the couch. Even the efforts of speaking seem to have diminished it a little. The audience is over. As the door opens, it shrinks from the finger of light that reaches across the floor. Outside, the obsequious steward nods. "The book, yes, the book." He hands you a slim, illustrated volume. "The curator is old as dust. We will all be grateful if you do it this one last favor." I now have pages describing the colors. I have the Neath bow. Time to go explore Vanderbite. Here they favor candlelight over gaslight. The shadows are swagged like cobwebs. The tomb colonists stand still long enough to be mistaken for sculpture until they laugh or cough. One building in 3 seems abandoned. An attack! You round a darkened corner and start down a broad boulevard lined with grimacing statues. There is a fluttering movement above, and a cloud of frost moths swoops down upon you. You beat them off with your walking stick. They are determined, and the largest are the size of zeas, but they are fragile. At last they retreat, leaving 3 of their number melting into water on the pavement. Their wings are marked with patterns that resemble letters. You peer at them, but the script is already dissolving. That's all for now. My terror increased. How delightful. Alright, alright. And, importantly, I've got these mushroom wines that I bought for 21 echoes, and I can sell for a handy profit of 2 per cask. And that's the sort of slow progress that you would take to make money in playing this game. Oh, fun times. Other places to buy and sell. Ooh, Monstrous Almanacs fetch quite a price. But as we said, we're just here to enjoy the story. Now that we've dropped off our passenger, we have a new mission. We gathered some port reports. We made a handy 2 echoes of profit on per cask of mushroom wine. Now we can head back to fall in London. I am following a little closer to the coast, in case I can discover something new. Keep my terror down low. Terror is the one thing that's going to actually be a problem in this playthrough, I think. But I'll do my best as a stout and hardy Z captain. A privileged Z captain. But privilege doesn't cure all woes. Home waters. Sailors dawdle at the rail, watching for the lights of London. I guess I've already discovered all of those little eccentricities. I have played this for long enough that hearing that song always fills me with relief. The Revenue Men. Her Enduring Majesty's Customs Service works closely with both the Ministry of Public Decency and the Masters of the Bazaar. Today they have selected you for an inspection. Don't cheek them. Today, I'm going to let them do their worst. You have nothing to hide. This will also reduce your suspicion if your suspicion is 5 or more. Vexed and frustrated, they roam the decks like wolves. They tear through your belongings like termites. At last, they leave. The lights of London welcome you home. Collect messages from the harbour master. All the clatter and song of the dockside, it soothes the soul. Are there messages for you? What's this? Let's see. You now have one of this, another day of free evening. The Rose Market bustles on Roser's Wharf. Who will be there today? That's all for now. The Roser's Wharf is an interesting alternative way to get money. The Rose Market caters to collectors and eccentrics, anyone with exotic tastes and gumption to harass sea captains. According to the archaic rules of the market, you can only make 1 trade per visit. Choose wisely. People at the Rose Market will pay above the usual price for specific goods. However, they may not be here next time they visit. Madame Shoshana is seeking an extraordinary implication. The fortune-teller, under her many scarves, sips tea in a quiet corner of the market. She'll pay well for something portentous. A prim baronet is looking for an unread log. He brushes black rose petals from his shoes. The wharf is strewn with them whenever the rose market congregates. Perhaps not. Going to... No. Oh, that's right, I didn't use my recent news. Apologies. I do, however, have a secret for the university. The university has an inexhaustible appetite for secrets, Z specimens, and other tidbits of esoteric lore. Provide a secret to prove yourself worthy of entry. Find secrets by locating locations of interests or in foreign ports. Quite impressed. Oh yes, the university's maritime liaison whispers breathily. Oh yes, this is quite a tasty one. Let me explain it to you. She, or he, explains, teeth glinting. You've gained 1 times pages. You are now Favor's Antiquarian. You've lost 1 times secret, new total 0. The Alarming Scholar. The Alarming Scholar is mercurial, to say the least. A creature of sudden moods and provoking teeth. Possibly her, is it her? Appointment as University Maritime Liaison was precautionary. To keep his razor-sharp enthusiasm from causing too many injuries in the faculty. Ah, yes, the scholar whispers breathily. I have a budget for acquisitions. What have you brought me? If you have any knowledge items the scholar will buy, they'll appear below. But for now, you have business to attend to, and besides, the scholar keeps snapping her teeth like a mechanical trap. There's a new recruit who awaits your attention. Someone wants to sign on. Let's see, I have a surgeon and a chief engineer. So maybe I don't need an engineer right now. Engage an officer, the Carnelian exile. My lord, I know the way. Let me show you. Welcome aboard. Here I am. A ship, I suppose, is both always here and never there, because there becomes here. Time for a quick appointment for the Carnelian exile. Soft-spoken and a little mystical. How much does she see? She has the discomfiting, even irritating habit of answering your questions just before you finish speaking. But I don't have any options with her right now. Back to London. A quick visit to the Admiralty's survey office wouldn't go amiss. They'll pay for information from Z captains, find out what and how. Hunter's Keep. I trust the sisters are keeping well. They are citizens of Her Enduring Majesty. Notionally. Submitted. You've gained 1 times fuel, 1 times Favor's Admiralty's favor, and lost the port report. Also gaining 5 echoes. Venderbite. What have the nearly dead been up to then? The same as always, this time for 10 echoes. I don't have enough authority to speak to a higher authority. Do you have an appointment? Not as such. Once you've proven yourself, perhaps. Leave the Admiralty. You don't have anything else for us? Done. Out into the foggy street. Turn your collar up. Finally, before I ruin the magic, carouse in Wolfstack docks. This will reduce your terror. You might run into trouble or romance. A matter of luck, based on my luck. 80% chance of success. A marvelous night out. Sea shanties, fine food, and the warmth of a pub fire, and something more. I lost 10 echoes, lost my free evening, have the same amount of recent news, and lost 5 terror. That night, in Wolfstack, you find yourself sharing a table with a dapper chap, an elegant fellow with a Presbyterian accent and an unexpectedly delighted laugh. By the evening's end, it seems natural that he should accompany you home. An interlude. The next morning, he gives you a golden locket. "Don't lose it," he says with a grin, then grows suddenly grave. "Truly, don't lose it." You now have a locket. And with that, I take a break, and then we resume in the realm of privilege.